Okay, we're on the backside of one of the local farmers markets where I live, and this is one source I get ingredients for hot compost. As I said, you need all the ingredients more or less at once, so I don't always have everything I need, so this is just one place I get some supplies. If you see, I've got a bucket and a glove. Let's go see what they have. Every time it's different. This particular farmer's market is very customer oriented, super busy. They put their waste in the back for people to pick up. I've seen people here getting things for their pets. Like one guy I met one time was getting there was pumpkins, and he was getting some pumpkins for his turtles. So all kinds of reasons to recycle this stuff. And let's see, they've got 3 bins out today. Let's see what's in here. Let me put on this glove. This is remember, this is for hot compost, and it's not fruit that's sellable. Fruit or vegetables that's sellable. It's not pretty, but it's exactly what we need. Okay, there's a lot of good stuff here. Bananas are great. Apples. There's some kind of, I don't even know what that is. Some kind of gourd. A lot of acorn squash. Cabbage. Let's go over here. A lot of citrus. Some sweet potatoes. If you use potatoes, you got to cut them up. In hot compost, they take forever to break down. I don't use too much citrus in hot compost because it's too acidic, but it has a lot of sugar in it, which is great for bacteria. Tomatoes are okay. You got to remember, with tomatoes, the seeds are probably going to be there at the end of the compost. It may or may not be. So if this is a hybrid tomato, you're going to get a bunch of little tomato plants all over the place, and since it's hybrid seeds that are coming from the hybrid parent, they're not going to come back to the true hybrid plant. There's peppers, cauliflower, grapes. Grapes are awesome, but I found out with grapes you need to cut them up, because this skin on the grapes will inhibit them breaking down in the compost. Sometimes I've had compost that have grapes still in them at the end. So I'm going to go ahead and get some of this, and we'll get mixing this compost. All right, I'm back from the farmer's market, and I got a bucket of fruit and vegetable waste. I did find some little watermelons. I've used pineapple before, and I love these. They're very, they have a high sugar content. I got a little bit of all that stuff I showed you. In hot composting, we're trying to mix everything together at once and increase the temperature quickly. So we want inch size or so pieces of material. So I'm going to take this, cut it up, and get it ready to add to the compost all at once. Alright, now you can see why I wear gloves, because that is messy and that is nasty fruit. So that's done. Let's move on to the next. Alright, I've got a friend who's got some cows, and I'm just going to get a little cow manure. It's great for compost. You got to be careful with it. You got to practice good hygiene. But as long as it gets up to temperature, it should be okay. So let's see if we can find some here. Here we go. Oh, here's some more. And let's see here. Just keep an eye on them. They're real nice. Just a little more. I told you I was going to show you everything. Alright, that's plenty. Alright, there's 4 bulk ingredients to this recipe. We already have the fruits and veggies. We've got the cow manure. I mixed coffee grinds in that cow manure with a paint mixer and a drill. It breaks up the cow manure and it makes for a better mix. The other 2 ingredients are straw and like a leafy greens. There's about 3 gallons of fruit and veggies, a gallon or 2 of cow manure. I'm going to use about 3 gallons or so of the straw and a gallon or 2 of the leafy greens. Straw is really interesting because it has lignin in it. Lignin is a real complex molecule. It's very hard to break down. It's one of the things that holds woody plants together. If you can break down the lignin, the straw will break down. That's true of any woody type material. It's very hard to do and it takes time. Leafy greens, I've used vegetables before, like lettuce from the farmer's market. This is just some, I was doing some trimming in my yard today, and it's just some various leaves and stuff. I've taken all the like sticks that I can out of it, because they won't break down in a month or so. So these are the 4 ingredients. We're trying to get a carbon to nitrogen ratio between 20 and 30. I've used a compost calculator on this that you find online. If you Google compost calculator, you can put in your different quantities of materials and keep changing them and altering them. It may depend on what you have. It may depend on what you want to use, but you can find out how much of each to use and come up with a good ratio, and you'll end up getting a really nice compost. Okay, there's a couple wet ingredients I add to the main bulk ingredients. One is blackstrap molasses, unsulfured. It's a simple sugar. I just pour a couple tablespoons on the fruits and veggies. Yummy. The other is fish emulsion. It's got some nitrogen in it. Both the blackstrap and the fish emulsion are good for bacteria. Let's put about, I don't know, maybe quarter or half a cup right in there with the fruits and veggies. Alright, I just got back from Starbucks and I got some coffee grounds. Let's open this up here. They just put it in a plastic bag. And there's like these little hockey pucks of coffee. And some of it's ground up, some of it's not. If you get little hockey pucks, they break up really easy. Coffee grounds are great for compost. They're great for earthworms. They're great for just sprinkling in a garden bed. They have a perfect carbon to nitrogen ratio. Sunset.com has some information on Starbucks coffee grounds. Contrary to I think what would be popular belief, the pH is not that bad. It's a little lower than 7. I think they said on their website it was 6.2. I've used coffee grounds like these probably 10 or 15 bags. It's great stuff. So I've never done this, but I wanted to see what the pH was on these, and I have this little, just a little, you know, off-the-shelf pH meter. It's probably not super accurate, but it'll do the job. So they say to shine this probe on this side of the tip, and I've put some coffee grounds in a cup with distilled water, and all they say to do is insert it in there and wait 1 minute. Alright, it's been about a minute and the pH came out to about 6.5. I don't know if you can see that. So this coffee grounds in this little test don't seem to be acidic. Earthworms love them. They're great in compost. You can spread them on your garden beds, work them into the soil. It's got a great carbon to nitrogen ratio. They're awesome. Biochar is kind of interesting. What it is wood that's been heated in a high temperature, oxygen-free environment, and once it's burned, it just leaves carbon. And there's a carbon matrix in the wood that I like to think of as bacteria condos. It also helps with water retention. One characteristic of biochar is that it sounds sort of hollow, or even metallic-like. This is pretty good stuff. There's some pieces that sound more like a thud. I had a friend make this, and most everything he does comes out really nice, and I can tell this is pretty good stuff. They say one of the best ways to inoculate biochar is to put it in compost. So I'm sort of experimenting with this. When you do create, or when you do make biochar, it's really, it's got a lot of residual stuff on it. And that's got to be, you can see this. That's got to be taken off. They refer to it as inoculating the biochar. And you can't add too much to soil at once. I've added only a few gallons to my garden bed, and I'm going to put about a gallon of this in the compost. We'll see what happens. I had some, I call them optional things in. It kind of makes it, it does various things. It makes the compost a little more like fertilizer. Some of it adds to food for the bacteria and fungi. One of them is blood meal. It's organic fertilizer, it's an organic source of nitrogen, and I put in about a quarter cup. So I'm just going to mix this in right here. All right. Next is Quaker Oats. This is some expired stuff I have in my house. I had about 2 cups or so. That's a source of food for fungus. Next is bone meal. This is actually dried and steamed bones. Let's put a quarter cup or so. Just a little bit. Next is azomite. It's got a lot of trace minerals in it. You can find it online. I just put about a quarter cup of that in also. Helps add to the nutrient value of the finished compost. Not too much. Next is Epsom salt. It's magnesium sulfate. Just a little handful is fine. Just kind of using what I have around. Last is humic acid. It's a really basic carbon-based building block of soil. You really need just a tiny bit. I'm just going to add, well, first of all, it's really a fine, look how fine that black powder is. I'm just going to add like, I don't know, maybe like a tablespoon. That's a whole nother video on, we start talking about humic and fulvic acids. Now you can add ground eggshells, other just random amendments. Like I said, it just helps give the compost more like a act more like a fertilizer when it's done. And you just kind of mix these up, and when I'm putting everything else in, I'll pour these in also.